Do you look for the blessings in your life? Yesterday, Mom and I went to Costco. And while we were there, we were in a hurry because my daughter had ballet class and we had to hurry up and we had to get through so that we could have time to get home and unload and do her hair and get her to ballet. Simple real life stuff. And my mother and I divided up in Costco, and Mom went one way and I went the other, and I was going to get the dog something. And all of a sudden I saw this beautiful woman, and she was just radiant in pink. So pretty. She radiated light and glory. And it was one of those things where I stopped. She was so radiant. And I turned and I looked at her and I said, "You are beautiful in your pink. You are just radiant." And then all of a sudden my brain started paying attention to what was happening. And I looked at her pants and I saw the breast cancer awareness symbol, the little ribbon, the pink ribbon. And then I saw them hanging from her earrings as well. And all of a sudden I froze. For those of you who are new here, I went for my first mammogram. I was told that it's normal for first mammograms to be called back in. So I didn't think anything of it when I was called back in for an ultrasound. I went to my ultrasound, and then all of a sudden I'm on my way to a biopsy. So I'm in this season of not knowing what this means, and I'm standing in front of this beautiful, radiant woman who is wearing breast cancer awareness, pink everywhere. And I pause and I look at her and I say, "Are you a survivor? Or are you just a supporter?" And she looks at me and she goes, "I'm a survivor." And then she started to question herself, and she's paused and she goes, "Well, I'm only 2.5 years cancer free." She goes, "And they still hurt." And at that, I looked at her chest, and I used to be a prosthesis coordinator for Nordstrom back in my mid-20s. And so all of a sudden I looked and I saw that she had had a double mastectomy. And she goes, "It still hurts sometimes." And all of a sudden I was in this conversation with this amazing woman who was light and glory. And then when she started talking about the pain and that she's not exactly cancer free because it's only been 2.5 years, I sat there and I go, "My biopsy's on November 5th. And she looks at me and she goes, "You're going to be just fine like me either way." I was like, and I started to well up kind of like I am now. Because even though I'm determined to find the blessings in this moment, I still get emotional and I still get double-minded, and I am not perfect. We've established this, but I'm genuinely not perfect. And in that moment, she gave me this beautiful hug, and it reminded me of a time when I worked at Nordstrom and I was a prosthesis coordinator. Because what came out of my mouth to this lovely woman was this story that happened one day at work. I went to work. It was a normal day. 2 women came up. One of them needed a fitting, and we went back, and I started asking questions as I always would, and I'm taking care of the one woman who needs to have a silicone breast form. It turns out that they met in a breast cancer support group. And then they started to tell me their stories. And the one woman who was there, who was supporting her friend, she started to tell me her story. And her story was that she should be dead. She had non-metastasizing breast cancer in stage 4, and they said that she wasn't going to live. And she was 7 years cancer-free. And her friend, who was in the middle of a reoccurrence, she had been stage 1. It was supposed to be easy. And she was in the middle of a reoccurrence, and it wasn't easy. And she had cancer again. But I could tell the difference. I could tell the difference in the women. The woman who was supposed to be dead was full of life and full of vigor, and she was amazing. And the woman who it was supposed to be easy and she wasn't supposed to reoccur, she was one of the most negative people I'd ever met. And she wasn't very fun, and she wasn't very pleasant to be around. And it made sense in that moment that the one who had joy was beating all the odds. And the one who had all the odds, who had no joy, was in the midst of reoccurring. And I remember I came home that night and I told my mother, and this was way before my mom had cancer, that if either of us either had any kind of cancer, that if this was what happened to us, that we needed to choose to live, that we needed, no matter what was facing us, to choose joy in the midst of it, because that's what I saw working for this woman who should have been dead. And the irony is the day that my mother found out that she had cancer, they had taken her in to remove a polyp in her nose, and they had stopped because they found out that it was cancerous. And so I was the first one who got to go back into the recovery room. As my mom came out of anesthesia, she grabbed me and she goes, in that foggy place that she was in, she goes, "Remember the woman who was supposed to be dead, who was alive? And the woman who was supposed to be alive and was reoccurring," she goes, "I'm going to be that woman who's supposed to be dead, who's alive." And she had no idea what she was declaring in that moment. She had no idea, because her cancer was so rare. They wouldn't even stage it. They didn't even know what to do. And we didn't know that in that moment. And she spoke it and she claimed it. And in that moment, I thought she was crazy, because I didn't have that. This had been like, I don't know, years, probably like 7 to 10 years previous that this had happened. I had a whole different life. I lived in LA. And then she goes, "No, remember Nordstrom?" Because I was like, "It's okay, Mom, we'll talk later." She's like, "No, Nordstrom, remember those ladies?" And the story came back to me and it flooded. And it was like, yes. So I shared this story with this woman in that moment, as I told her to claim every year as cancer-free, that she doesn't have to wait until she's 5 years in to be cancer-free, and that my mother's here shopping and my mother should be dead, and that she's alive and she's 16 years cancer-free. And I can tell with the way that you live that you are going to be that same, where you are going to live in abundance, because she had joy and she had Jesus, and it was beautiful. So what I offer you from these two stories today is, if you are in the midst of something, because most of us are, and most of us don't go out and tell people. I know in my daily life, I am rather transparent, but I don't just tell people. Not like this. This is much easier. If you are going through something, I want you to remember that you need to speak and choose life over yourself. Declare it. If you are coming out of a cancer battle and you have been declared cancer-free and you're 6 months out, you are cancer-free. Own it. Own it. If you're 2.5 years out, you're cancer-free. Count every year that you get to live and you get to have joy. Oh! And no matter what happens, I keep going back and forth. I feel like I don't have cancer. And then I second guess myself. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, but what if it is? And what if it is? The reality is that I am going to be okay. And the Lord put this beautiful woman in my path who let me know that no matter what, He's with her and He got her through it. And she is living and she is surviving. It's hope that in choosing to claim your healing, choosing to claim that you can survive the caregiving that you are giving, choosing to claim that you can survive, and not just survive, but thrive in life in the midst of the challenges that we're all going through. You've got this. You have the ability. You are amazing. So I truly hope today that you have come, and that this part of my journey, that this moment of uncertainty, that God continues to give me these blessings of these people that I don't even know. Some I've known, some I don't know. I pray that you are filled, and that with being filled, that you are able to go out into that world and overflow in whatever capacity that is. And that by us doing that, that we change the world.